Great. Awesome. Here we go, folks. Thank you, everyone, for coming to today's talk. For those of you who don't know, the Nomadic Network started out as a sort of hub for travel events, in-person events. We kicked off earlier this year, and we've hosted events in 22 cities all around the world, and things were rolling along nicely until the pandemic hit. And so we've transitioned to virtual events, naturally. So I saw some of you have been to a couple, some of you are new, that's awesome. I try to come to them as often as I can. I live in Europe though, so I usually watch the replays. But we host events every week. Erica is our gracious host, and she hosts 1 to 3 events every single week. And they're just a great way to connect with other travelers, learn about new things. We've had events covering everything from travel writing to moving to France to counting countries, happy hours, you name it. So we have tons of amazing events every single week. I'm just going to pop into the chat to make sure I didn't miss anything. Whoop. Well, we'll just roll on. Look at me, I'm learning. While this is going on, just a few housekeeping rules. You can turn your camera on, of course. Just please keep yourself muted so we don't interrupt Cassandra. There'll be a Q&A after the presentation. So if you have questions along the way, you can type them in the chat. Just start your question with the word question in all caps so I can sort of scroll and find them easily. You can also use the chat to connect with other people, type in your own, I'm sure some of you have been to Italy, so type in your own experiences, connect with one another. That's what we really want this event to be about. We can learn, have fun, talk travel. And then for anyone interested in the replays, if you're like myself and you live in a slightly inconvenient time zone and want to watch the replays, those are available on our Patreon, to our Patreon members. And I'll dive into that in a minute. But of course, everyone, I want you all to have fun. Definitely ask questions. Cassandra knows her stuff, and she's super lovely, and she'll be more than happy to answer them. She's a great resource. Yeah, thank you all for coming. And now just one final note about Patreon. For those of you who don't know, Patreon is a monthly subscription where you can sign up to get all kinds of exclusive content. In addition to replays of these events, we have separate Q&As with Matt. We have access to free guides, signed books, merch, this Keep Calm and Travel On shirt, which I'm wearing right now. Tons of exclusive stories that even, I've been working for Matt for 5 years, and some of them even surprise me. He posted one recently about boxing in Thailand, which I had no idea he ever did that. So there's tons of cool stuff on there for anybody interested and able and looking for more sort of exclusive travel content and wants to support us. If a monthly subscription isn't your cup of tea, of course, you can make a one-time donation if you're interested. We have a PayPal. There's information here and on our website. No obligation, of course. Our goal here is to help you travel, help you learn and connect. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and introduce, make sure I got this on, yes. And introduce today's speaker, today's guest. So Cassandra she's the CEO and founder of Travel Italian Style. She knows everything there is to know about Italy. She spends half the year there, the other half in New York City. She's been to all 20 regions of Italy, and is just an all-around lovely person. She's been a TEDx speaker, and I always seem to bump into her every time I'm back in the US, and she's just an amazing resource and human being. So Cassandra, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for that lovely intro. I'm going to bring you everywhere with me, Chris.
Yeah, I'll be your hype person.
I love it. And I sent you the slide on email. So just everybody, thank you for your patience. There is a big storm on the Amalfi Coast, and we've been getting hit with these lots of storms. So obviously I had a little Wi-Fi problems on our computer, so just bear with us. I tried to send Chris the slideshow, but I'll get started. So Chris, again, thank you for that lovely intro. I am the CEO and founder of Travel Italian Style. So basically what we do at Travel Italian Style is we create boutique experiences for those looking to see Italy in a unique and memorable way. Of course, we also do the standard Rome, Venice, Florence trips, and luxury trips and budget-friendly trips. So we do a little bit of everything, but my passion, because I've lived here full-time in Florence, and now I live here 6 months each year, traveling the country, is introducing people to locals and seeing a little bit of the unique side of Italy. So basically, for starters, while we're trying to get the slideshow up, there's 20 regions in Italy. And I've been to all 20. And if you don't know what the regions are, you know, they're basically states. So I've been to all the states of Italy throughout the country, and they're all very different. I'm sure if you're on this call, a lot of you know Italy and understand and love it. So you'll understand that if you're in Milan, you're eating totally different food than if you're in Sicily. So yeah, I just wanted to start off actually, and I want to get this photo up. So hopefully we get the PowerPoint working.
I've got the PowerPoint.
Yay! Okay. So if you guys want to hang 1 minute, Chris is going to share his screen.
I'm going to share my screen again.
You guys wanted to see the... Okay.
We got PowerPoint and...
Yay! There I am.
I never used PowerPoint. What do I...
Go to begin, go to slideshow. The red word at the top where it says slideshow.
There we go. Look at that. Learn something every day, folks.
So you're going to do some clicking for me, Chris, if you don't mind. Okay, so this is the 20 regions I told you about. I actually took this great map from Trip Savvy. I love this map. And there's also even parts of where they show you where all the different foods are and things. So these are the 20 regions. I am right now in Campania. So I'm kind of by the tip of the boot over there at the bottom. So we can head to the next one. And the next slide. So you could just click through all of them, Chris, to make it easier if you want, and I'll go through them. So I wanted to quickly bring this up. So this is a personal passion of mine, traveling like a local. Traveling like a local has the same basic idea everywhere you go, right? But in Italy, I want you to understand a few things that I've learned from over 15 years of traveling here and living here and being a dual citizen of the country. The number one thing is, we know that not everybody has 6 months to travel Italy like me. But we also know that you probably want to see some of the main historic sites like Rome and the Colosseum, especially if it's your first visit, but you also want to be immersed in the culture. I know that's very important for many of you, especially here on the network. So just a myth I always tell people, to experience local Italy, you don't have to go so far off the beaten path. You know, you don't have to end up in a remote village in the middle of nowhere, because it's actually not a lot of fun, and there's probably no buses or trains to get back and forth. So just keep in mind that whether you're in Florence or Rome or the Amalfi Coast, there is a local life. I'm here with only locals on the Amalfi Coast right now and a few European travelers, and that's not an exaggeration. Actually, that's some of them, Mimi and Coco. This is their shop right in the middle of the Amalfi Coast, and these guys do not even speak English. I get my water, my bread, and my cheese from them weekly, so you will find locals in their shop, and you'll also find tourists. And the same goes with going out to restaurants. So I think the number one thing people say to me as a travel planner is, well, I only want to go to mom and pop trattorias, osterias, because I only want to eat local food. So that's also a myth. Actually, I mean, I love trattorias and osterias and mom and pop shops. I also love eating the street food in Italy, especially in Naples. But, you know, keep in mind that if you do appreciate finer dining, or say you want to go out for a celebration, you're graduating, it's your wedding, it's your honeymoon, and you don't want every day to be in a little off the beaten path restaurant, the restaurants here, or nowadays especially, they're young local chefs running, whether they're Michelin star or higher dining places, that are taking their family traditional recipes and basically, you know, giving you a whole new way of looking at the country. So I highly recommend that if you want to get a really, really authentic experience, that you mix up the type of restaurants. And it might sound like a silly thing, but there's one right here in Atrani that I always recommend called Savo. And basically what it is a mom, her two sons, and the dad. And the dad and one of the brothers cooks in the kitchen, and then the mom and the son serve. But the dad is a chef that has traveled all over France and cooked at some of the finest restaurants in all of France. So you're going to have a different gourmet experience, a little bit. He still cooks traditional food because he's from here in town, but you're also going to get a little bit higher end fine dining. And then only staying in apartments. I think staying in apartments is great. I live in an apartment here, but just keep in mind, if you appreciate and you like staying in hotels, don't rule that out. You could still enjoy local Italy. And then I just say focus on this. Anything that supports the local people in the local economy, whether you're buying a sandwich from Mimi and Coco, or if you're staying at a local hotel, the only thing that's really important about traveling like a local in Italy is that the money is going to the local people, and you are getting to meet the local people, and things like that. So we can go to the next one. Sorry, I'm very passionate about traveling like a local. So these are just some photos. So breaking this down, where and when to travel. This is the #1 question I get, and I'm happy to answer more questions after, but I tried to sum it up for everybody here in the best possible way that wouldn't take an hour. So these two photos here, yes, these two photos here are, one is from, if you see me with the horses, is from the Dolomites during Christmas time, and the other one is from a wine harvest I took part in. And that just gives you the, the extent of how far and this, how different seasons can vary and what's to do during this time of year.
Shit that I don't know, like.
And sorry about that. So basically, yeah. So I would say the only month to avoid is January. That's my personal preference. And I say that because after the Christmas holiday, a lot of the shops close and they take a vacation. It's also very cold and there's not so much going on. But if you can only travel in January, that's perfectly fine. But I would say that's the only month where I will usually tell travelers if you can avoid it. Otherwise, February is great. February, you have Verona in Love and Romeo and Juliet. And of course, you have Carnevale. And a word about Carnevale in Venice. I know it seems like a touristic thing, but it's actually very important for the local people. And you don't just see Carnevale in Venice. You see it in Sicily, and you see it in Viareggio and Tuscany too. Someone just asked how cold it is, and that's a great question. It actually, you probably will have pretty warm, like 70s in Sicily, on a good day, but it'll probably be like average 60s, 50s. But if you're up in Venice, it will be pretty chilly, probably about 40 Fahrenheit, 50 Fahrenheit, but it's not freezing. It's not the same chill that I'm from New York, like when we get piles of snow, unless, which I'll talk about shortly, you go to the Dolomites, or if you're skiing or snowboarding. Of course, it's gonna be pretty cold in the mountains, but if you're traveling the main cities of the country, it's a pretty comfortable 50 degrees, I would say, but it's a really fun time of the year. And then in the next slide, I actually talk, I'll show you some pictures. This is the best time of the year, but the season typically starts in April. In March, you can start traveling south, like the seasides and things, but I actually would wait to April to do that. If you are going to travel in March, I'm going to say the best thing to do is to be up north. If you like to ski or snowboard, that's the best month to do it, because the Dolomites area, or even the mountains around the rest of the country, the snow is pretty much done falling, but it's going to be still beautiful weather, and the snow is still going to be there for you to enjoy. And then we start talking about April to October. So April to October is the main season. And that doesn't mean that, it is high season, but it doesn't mean you should avoid it. I actually think traveling from April to October is the best time to go. So April, I'm sure you guys know, but Easter is very important for Italians. So it's really cool if you can come to a place like Sorrento and enjoy Holy Thursday, Good Friday, if you are practicing Catholic, or if you're not, you might just enjoy the ceremonies, because they're really cool, and they really traditional ancient ceremonies that they have throughout Italy during Easter time. And then you get into May, June, July, where it's the summer months. Yes, it starts to get hot, but it's the best time of the year to travel because the weather is pretty consistently sunny in most parts of the country. Everything's open as far as restaurants and things like that. And yeah, just overall really pleasant. August, a lot of people ask me, like, I heard August is so, busy and it's all Italians. I should avoid August. I'm a little bit different. I live on the Amalfi Coast in August and I love it. Of course, if you're visiting a major city like Rome or Florence, just beware because some shops will close for the Ferragosto holiday. So August 15th is the Italian holiday Ferragosto, so things close. But in the South or on the seaside, typically things don't close. So you're gonna have not only beautiful weather and beaches, you're going to have events, food festivals, dancing in the piazzas. In normal times, pre-COVID, you're gonna have events all the time. So I'm gonna say that it's still, if you have to travel in August, it still can be great. Just be aware of, if you're going to cities, call ahead for restaurants, call ahead for museums and things like that. And then September and October, everybody knows is a great time to travel. You got your wine, you got your beautiful fall weather. It's similar to, for example, New York's fall and most parts of the country here. So it's perfect to travel. November is olive oil season. And it's truffle season, so you can go truffle hunting and olive oil. And then December is my personal favorite time, and that'll bring us into just this last little breakdown of some thoughts about new places and where and when to travel. But basically, December for the Christmas holiday is really a lot of fun, and it is there's again lots of food, festivals, events. There's Christmas lights. All the street is hung up. All the streets aligned with Christmas lights. They used to not have them, but now they have Italian Christmas trees. Big fancy there they are. Thanks, Chris. We can go back to that pretty Christmas tree. Thank you. So this is Christmas in Italy. That's in Milan. They put that tree up every year and it goes up. Usually the Christmas holiday starts the 6th of December, around then. And that is when you'll start to see the decorations up. And on the other side, that is some delicious funnel cake and mulled wine in the Dolomites, because my favorite thing to do is to go to the Christmas markets in Italy. So yeah, lots of fun. So I made this little breakdown of, and you guys tell me if I'm speaking so quick because I drank a lot of espresso today. So yeah, Christmas in Italy is so awesome. If we could just go back to this one. Yeah, thank you. Sorry. I know I got excited. Back to the list of Piedmont and
Gotcha.
this one. Sorry, Chris. Thank you for your patience.
No.
I got excited. I kept putting pictures of Christmas everywhere and throughout the thing. So here's my recommendations of new, and you can't see me, but I'm doing quotes because I put new Italian places because they're obviously not new. Ooh, there goes our Wi-Fi. There goes the lights are flashing. They're obviously not new, but actually, again, as a travel planner, I will tell you, to most people, they will choose Tuscany, they'll choose Rome, they'll choose the Amalfi Coast and Campania, and they'll choose Sicily, but they won't always choose Piedmont. And here is, I'm going to tell you a few reasons why Piedmont is awesome. If you're a wine drinker, you probably already know that this is a really important area for wine such as Nebbiolo and Barbadesco. If you like film, there's actually a film museum there. If you like history, there is the oldest Egyptian museum in all of the world. It's basically in Piedmont or in Europe. I have to correct myself. And yeah, and Torino is just a really cool city. It kind of, I did a post the other day. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have saw, because I just featured Piedmont the other day, and I talked about how it reminds me of The Great Gatsby. Like, everything just has that feel, and there's all these cafes and bars, and it's just a really cool place. So I highly, highly, highly recommend Piedmont. And you can do vermouth making there, which is one of my favorite new things to do, because vermouth comes from Piedmont. Then Calabria. So a lot of people say, my family's from Calabria, I know Calabria, but people still are not traveling there like they should, because there are some of the most beautiful beaches in all of Italy. Is Calabria. People say Sardinia, and that's true, but Calabria, you can get there by train, you can get there by driving. It's not that far from Naples. So you can enjoy Calabria, and I recommend you to do it. They also have amazing food there as well. A lot of the typical Southern food you're probably used to if you're Italian American especially, or have any Italian heritage from the South. I find a lot of the dishes there do remind me of my childhood. And yay, yeah, you definitely, someone's right, Laura is writing about Calabria. You definitely need to go. The only advice, this is really important, so write this down. If you're going to Calabria, please don't make this a spontaneous, I'm gonna just get on a train and go. Contact a travel planner, buy a guidebook, go follow a bunch of Calabrese bloggers, discover Calabria or discover Southern Italy. I think my friend Michelle just changed her name too. She's a great blogger to follow for Calabria, just so you know. And then the Amalfi Coast, beyond the beaches. So obviously I'm a little partial to the area because I live here, but I just want everybody to know that I love the beaches here and I love the beautiful views. But do keep in mind that we have like tons of hikes. You probably heard of the most famous one called the Path of Gods. Of course we have that, but we also have tons of other hikes throughout the whole coastline. There's wine country here. There's Naples, of course, with like tons of castles and palazzos and a theater to enjoy with the opera. There's also ceramics and artisans throughout the whole coast. And yeah, just a lot of really unique, exciting things you can enjoy. And then Veneto, beyond Venice, if you like Prosecco, of course, there's a region to explore right in Veneto, not so far from Venice. There's also a bunch of really charming towns. So I highly recommend next time you go to Venice, you don't just go to Venice and leave, you try to explore the countryside. And the same with Milan. Milano, a lot of people will, I don't know, yeah, a lot of people think it's just a place you pass through. If you go to a place like Brescia, and I marked it there so you can write it down, you will experience literally 2,000 years of history. I literally was walking on a forum that's still standing from 2,000 years ago. So just keep that in mind. I've already talked about Christmas in Italy. You can see I'm very passionate about that. And if you want Italian heritage, if we actually offer that through our company, but that's another really cool way to venture into new towns is to research your ancestral town where you came from. It might sound obvious, but you don't have to invest in a genealogist. You can go on ancestry.com, get a little bit of information, and then you can probably piece some things together and walk the same steps as your parents. So, and I see that somebody's writing about Le Marche. Le Marche is also another beautiful region. And it's actually a perfect combination if you're coming from the north, stopping there and heading to the south. So yes, I highly agree with whoever just wrote, I missed your name, maybe Laura, I just missed it, who said Le Marche. So I think the next slide, we already did Christmas, and now we'll start talking about some fun stuff. I think what to do. So I'm not gonna go through the typical things that you probably know, like cooking classes, wine tasting. You know, Italy's all about food and drink, so I don't need to, you know, remind you that, I'm sure. But a few things I wanted you to keep in mind, just a few tips I thought to share with you. If you are traveling on a budget, or or maybe you've been to museums, but you want to refresh and see a bunch of them again, through October through March is when they do free museums on Sundays in Italy, the first Sunday of every month, October through March. So you can, there's the whole list of museums you can go to, and even, you know, seeing things like the David at the Accademia and some unique places. Keep in mind that churches are basically free. And if you don't want to wait online, I'm sure you know this, but maybe not, just keep in mind that a really good tip is to go to like a 7 a.m. mass. So if you, like, a lot of people want to see San Marco in Venice, but they don't want to wait on the line. And maybe they're not interested to enter, you know, Doge's Palace or the rest of the grounds on this trip, because they, you know, a lot of times we try to cram a lot of things into a week of seeing Italy, and I totally get it. But if you don't want to miss out, go to a 7 a.m. mass. You're allowed in. You obviously have to just be respectful, but you can walk around the church and take photos and do what you need. So that's going to help you skip the line, because there's rarely a line then. And then I already talked about nature. That's a great way to see different sides of Italy no matter where you are. Hiking, there are a ton of caves. So I'm sure you guys heard about the Blue Grotto in Capri. I'm going to talk about COVID. I see that we're asking about COVID. I'll definitely talk about that at the end. And yeah, there's the Blue Grotto in Capri that you probably all know, but there's actually tons of other caves on the sea, and you could see me there on the slideshow. I'm really little, but I'm in a cave that's actually right above my town. So, and another really good tip is a lot of tourism boards. If you follow them on Instagram or Facebook or just email them, they often give you free tours of places or exclusive access to things. So just keep that in mind. And luxury style, if funny enough, sometimes Ed Norton comes into our town. I miss Leonardo DiCaprio twice. So there is a lot of luxury in Italy, obviously, from helicopters to yachts and things like that. But we can dream. I'm dreaming about it maybe one day. But yeah, of course, obviously I always say to people, everything you want to do in Italy, you can find a budget friendly way, a medium way, and a high end way. So I think, don't overwhelm yourself. That's what I tell travelers, but just pick like 4 or 5 things that are important to you on your trip. Do those and then try to fit everything into it, the rest of it organically. Okay, let's see here. I'm going along with you. That's just some pictures. I just thought everybody might want to see a picture of Positano and Capri. That's from the beach clubs. Beach clubs are really cool to experience in Italy. People often ask, do you have to go to a beach club? Is there a free beach? Typically, there's always a little section of free beach in Italy that you can go to, but I always say for the full experience, check to see how much the chairs are, because then you have access to the bathrooms, the beach bar, the showers. They give you a towel, and it's really comfortable. But I understand, beach clubs aren't for everyone. But yes, on the Amalfi Coast, sometimes they can range to like €25 per person or higher at this point. But, in smaller towns, like even in Le Marche and other beach sides that are a little less visited, you could probably get a chair for about €8 to €10. So always double check. It's worth, checking out if you're passing one. And then next, Kristen, yeah, totally. And of course, like I was saying, there's always going to be a little section of free beach. But I'm sure, Kristen, you would agree when I'd say get there early and grab your spot because, the locals know. I do it here on the Amalfi Coast as well. I always go super early before people go. So the accommodations, I don't need to tell you, Chris, I have a little note for you there. I hope you like it. Couch surfing. I do have to get one little thing. Of course, my computer is going crazy today. The accommodations are, I don't need to repeat everything we have, but farmhouses, which are agriturismos in Italy. And, sorry about that. Sorry, my technical issue still. The farmhouse and agriturismos in Italy and the Albergo Diffuso is like the most immersive thing to do. So farmhouses, you can get a room for 2 or 4 people. You can rent individual rooms, and then they'll typically have lunch or dinner available for you to purchase as a package with upon check-in, or you can just come to individual meals. But it's really cool because usually they do family style, or at least have a meal where everybody's invited on the same night, and you're also in the middle of like a family farm. And there's a luxury ones, and there's ones that are more rustic and ones in between. So it's definitely worth it if you want an immersive experience. And Albergo Diffuso is something not a lot of people know, but if you know Italy, then you probably do. Basically, these are hotels that are created in the middle of historic towns. So the most famous ones are in Abruzzo and Matera. So these are pretty ancient towns that were recreated specifically for the hotel. So I stayed in one in Abruzzo, and they didn't even really have lights. And it's a luxury place, okay? So if you want a super immersive experience, I was like, I'm a New Yorker at heart, but it was really cool. They have it set up with like even like exactly how it would be. And, back in the day, you eat some of them, you eat food from the time that the town, whatever time of the town they're recreating. So it's a really cool experience, and it's really fun to do the cooking classes there because you learn a lot about ancient Italy times and things like that. And then same, I was seeing what Anthony wrote. I can't see everything you're writing, Anthony, but I will respond shortly. The bed and breakfasts are great. Hotels, hostels, there's a bunch of all those here. I have Chris and friends surfing because he's the couch surfing king, who's Chris, who's the co-host of this. So he'll be able to probably point you up, and probably on Matt's website, they have some great stuff. But apartments, villas, and castles are all available here. And actually castles, it sounds like it's going to be super fancy and expensive, but there's some really great castles right in the middle of Tuscany that are really reasonably priced, and you can just rent rooms and enjoy like a regular hotel. So that's some tips on accommodations. And food and drink ideas. So I wanted to just give you a few quick tips on food. And if you don't mind just going back, I'm going to drive you crazy, Chris, on this one, because I'm very excited about all the food and drink. So I know not everybody drinks, but I just wanted to start with these cocktails because a lot of people nowadays, especially in America, are enjoying the Aperol Spritz. Just bear with me here. Aperol Spritz, if you know, that's the orange cocktail, which is made with Aperol, Prosecco, and club soda. If you look at this amazing cafe, this is like my favorite place in all of Italy, I think, with the 2 drinks with the glass of wine. Next to it is a white drink, and that is actually called a Hugo Spritz. And if you know Italy, then you're probably like, okay, Cassandra, don't tell me something I know already. But if you don't know it, I say try it. Hugo Spritz is just like an Aperol Spritz, but you instead of the red Aperol, you actually put in elderflower liqueur. So it's really refreshing for summer, and they use mint instead of orange. So really nice. Yeah, it's so good. And then the drink I have on the other side is actually, I'm sure a lot of people know Negroni and Negroni Sbagliato, but this is actually an Americano. So an Americano is vermouth and Campari and soda, and it's typical from Torino. And you remember earlier I was talking about how you can do vermouth making in Torino. That's because vermouth is there. So when you're in Torino, if you want a super local drink, everybody's drinking the Americano. And just a really funny story real quick, I was in Naples. So we have our main office is here in Naples, and my main colleague is Vincenzo, and he is a Neapolitan who's been in the business like his dad for 40 years. And when we went out for a drink, I ordered an Americano, and he had no idea what it was. And it's because he was from Naples. He never had it before. So that's the funny thing about when I say local drinks, I mean it. Like, people from the South may not know this drink, so just mark that down. And then if you're a coffee person, I have this photo here of a coffee with a whole lot of whipped cream. And I'm telling you this because everybody wants to try like a cafe macchiato or a cappuccino or espresso when you're in Italy, but in certain parts of Italy, they switch up the coffee sometimes. And I'll show you another one that's really cool too. Yeah, right? Like, why would you not need a coffee that has a whole lot of whipped cream in it? So at first I thought that like I was the only one drinking it, but then I noticed the guy had a huge tub of whipped cream. So it is very typical for people to have. So in Rome, they actually also you can ask for crema, like in some of your coffee too at the bars. So, you know, look, if you're a big coffee person and you've tried every typical coffee, which is almost impossible in Italy because there's like 40 different kinds, try to see if there's something really cool like in Torino here where there's a bunch of whipped cream in your coffee, which was delicious and not too heavy. Or on the other side, I have, instead of like gelato or like a tiramisu, I did a tasting of Vinsanto, which is very typical from Tuscany, with all the local biscottini of the area. So all the local cookies of the area. So that plate right there of like the 4 kinds of cookies and the liqueur cost me €3. I just want to tell you that. So it's actually really budget friendly and a cool way to try some typical things that are different than what you usually try. And then I just shared, we'll get to these questions at the end, right? So some things here, a lot spaghetti alla vongole. They have strufoli, which a lot of people know, you probably know growing up, the little balls of honey, some pizzette, pizza. A lot of these are from the South. And then the next slide, I actually wanted to, and if you know this already, then you could just, tell me, but if not, I think it's funny to tell people, these are photos from my dear friends on Capri who had a restaurant and now have an organic farm that you can go and taste their local produce made on site. And this is their caprese, ravioli caprese and caprese salad. And a lot of people don't realize that the caprese salad literally comes from Capri. So it's you need to try it because it's a local dish, and so does the ravioli caprese. So just a little tip that maybe you've overlooked. And yeah, I probably have more. I don't know if I have any more photos of food. Okay, last food thing, and then we're almost done, I promise. So everybody knows the sfogliatella. Well, I think you do, which is the triangle with the ridges. That's very typical from the south of Italy. This round pastry on this slide with the flower is actually called a sfolla. So it's the same thing as sfogliatella, but it's a sfogliatella, but it's round. I prefer it. It's really delicious. So I recommend that if you go to Naples. And this coffee, for more coffee lovers, this is a cafe nocciola. So this is not like Starbucks, although I do like Starbucks. This is not like Starbucks in the sense that you are going to have like hazelnut syrup. They actually make homemade cream from fresh hazelnuts and put it into your coffee, and it's delicious. And you typically only find it around from Naples. So really good. And yeah, so I saw some of you asking, what will Italy travel look like in the future? I didn't want to even write the words COVID, but I'm happy to chat about it quick. I'm going to say, this is a photo of Sorrento, so it's probably going to look like that. And if you want to, you know, I just want to say that we've had about 4 or 5 months preparing for tourists. And we had this whole summer to test it out. And it was good because we didn't have the influx. So what I'm going to tell you is this. I'm going to say that if I don't know what's happening with the pandemic, hopefully we won't have to use masks or get tests, and maybe it'll disappear. I have no idea what the future will hold from us. But when you come here right now, there are social distancing signs everywhere. The bars where you get your coffee or where you eat or socially distanced, you have to follow rules. Only a certain amount of people are allowed at a time. Everybody wear masks. Most places right now are back to masks indoor and outdoor because cases are rising again. And that's because we had a pretty heavy European tourist season that came in influx. So we're just recovering from that, and they don't think they're going to go into another lockdown, but they are being really cautious and giving fines if you are wearing masks, or they're saying they're going to give fines, you know. This is Italy, but they said they're going to give fines if you don't wear masks. But the things I'm going to tell you for future travel, obviously check your cancellation policies, but you know, also some of your favorite restaurants might not be open again, or they might have changed location. So really note that. Don't just assume everything's the way it was, and just be prepared to come here. We are really on top of it with temperature taking, contact tracing, you know, asking for a phone number and things like that. So we have a really organized system. So if you're coming anytime in the next couple months, just know that you'll probably have to follow some rules. But once you get past those rules, you can go to the next slide. We won't be this close to each other like in this slide, because there'll be a little bit more social distance, but we're still enjoying family meals and you know, drinking wine and enjoying the outdoors and living life as usual. So we're hoping this spike of cases goes back down, but you know, that's being positive. I have no idea what the future holds, but like I said, we enjoyed a beautiful summer here just with some restrictions. So I think travel is going to be coming back soon. So, and this little restaurant here is in Modena. You should definitely try it. It's amazing next time you're there. So that's it. I put all my contact information there because I do share a lot of tips on our Instagram. On our Instagram and Facebook, every Monday we have a local series called Amalfi Coast Locals Life Beyond Tourism, and we're interviewing local people and the story behind their shops, restaurants. Yesterday we had a boat company, so it might be some travel tips for you. And every Thursday I enjoy I share another region of Italy beyond Campania. And typically I'm traveling a lot, and that's what I share in stories all the time. I do have a trip this weekend to a surprise location, so you can stay tuned to that. But if not, I will be bringing you all around on my daily adventures around Campania. So yeah, I see a lot of questions coming up, so I'm ready to take any that we need.
Cool. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing now, and we can jump into questions. Let's see. I'm just gonna scroll up, make sure I get them all. Let's see. Okay, you covered temperatures. Not, I mean, if you're from North America, it's not that cold.
You're like, I'm Canadian. Come on, like,
I mean,
yeah.
it's, yeah. We covered COVID. Still scrolling. There was vegan and vegetarian. There was two I saw about that. Do you want to maybe talk about
Yeah.
what people can expect?
Sure. I'm going to say that in most major cities now, they have vegan. Vegetarian's really easy to do, I think, personally, in Italy. You'll always find some sort of alternative because they love fresh local produce, right? So you're always going to find as the markets, they're always going to grill up some vegetables. It's a typical side dish. For a vegan, now they're having more specialized shops. And the same with gluten-free, in case anybody's gluten-free. Sometimes you'll find things in a pharmacy. So if there's something, kind of grain or things you're looking for gluten-free. But as far as vegan, most major cities will have vegan locations, when you're there. So don't have any fear about that. And then also just ask at the restaurants. They're used to it now. If it was 10 years ago, they might have said no, but now they're pretty used to it. So they'll be happy to share with you truthfully the ingredients.
Yeah, because I'm vegan, and I was in Rome, didn't have any trouble. I mean, you can Google everything, right? Like, even as a vegan, I was able to eat so much gelato without any trouble. So, 5 minutes of research, if you have any problems in the cities. We had, scrolling up here, how do you get dual citizenship in Italy?
Oh, good idea.
Was the process easy?
Yeah.
It's different for everyone, but
This is fun. So I don't like to scare people, but I do like to tell you it took me 7 years and thousands of dollars. But I like to tell you that because most people don't have that issue. So I tell you the worst case scenario and then the best case scenario. So for my cousin, for example, she was able to work off of me and it only took her 2 years. So basically how you get dual citizenship, the first step is you need to go to your local Italian consulate website. So if you're in New York, the New York Italian consulate website. You can see right on the website if you qualify for dual citizenship. My grandfather, both my father's parents were from Italy, and my grandma never renounced her citizenship. So that part was clear for me. But there's also like, if your father was born or mother was born, so just check that out. Then the only thing I tell people is, even if you're not sure, if this is something you really, really want to do, make an appointment now because the wait can be 2 to 4 years. So just make an appointment, even if you're not sure, because you have all that time to research to see if you can find documents and to see if you can, qualify. And then they're going to ask you of all these papers. They're going to ask that you have to get them translated. And then, then you get, but I have to say it was worth every dollar and everything I spent, obviously, because I may travel back and forth. But, I'm like 100% Italian, so it's a little bit easier for me. But also, before you do this, be sure to ask any relatives in your family if they've ever applied. Because if they have paperwork in the consulate already, it saves you a lot of time. So.
Good to know. Scrolling through here, if you had to pick one area of Italy, what is your favorite / must-see region? Impossible question, but.
Okay, so I'm going to give you two because I think it's fair, because I'm living in the Amalfi Coast. It's a dream for me. I'm living in the town I dreamed to live in, like, no exaggeration, for years. So I'm obviously very partial to this area, but it's because what I told you before on the slide, like, you can be by the sea, you can go hiking, you can go wine tasting. There's ferries, buses, trains. I could walk everywhere. I have my pastry shops or in restaurants here. So it's really easy to visit as a tourist too. But I'd say in the north, I'm going to say Piedmont or the Trentino Alto Adige. I love the Dolomites area. It's so amazing. And it's like, it's, especially after being in quarantine, I'm sure you would appreciate it because it's like fresh air, being out, and you can hike in the spring or you can be in the snow in the winter. So I'm going to say Amalfi Coast area, and then Piedmont area, and then Trentino Alto Adige. Those are the three. And then you decide what's more fitting for you.
That's fair. We had someone asking about San Marino. Have you been? Any recommendations?
Yeah, I have been to San Marino. And my number one recommendation to you is don't go on a cloudy day. So I was only going, we decided to go on a last, so it's like basically like the highest point of Italy. And it's like the most like picturesque view you've ever seen ever. And we went and it started to rain and we both started to cry, me and my friend. But we don't plan last minute, follow the weather, have a backup day to go. But it's a really small town. I mean, I could give you recommendations, but basically you just need to walk around. But just check this season. You know, the weekends are probably better, even though it's crowded, but more things will be open. And yeah, like I said, just check the weather, but it's really a beautiful place. And if you can get a private driver, it's probably easier than taking the bus and things too. So.
Cool. The question from John regarding hiking. I'm just looking for it now. A best time of year for hiking, specifically in the Dolomites.
I would say the spring. I would say April, May, but it's also really beautiful in June. And a lot of people were going there this year in August because it still wasn't even that hot. But I like the April, May, probably more May actually, to be in my opinion. And then the second in the summer because it's really fresh.
Just going back to the citizenship question in the chat, I saw somebody posted they took 4 years because their grandfather was an Italian citizen. So. For anyone interested.
Yeah, it can go either way, but these 4 years is pretty realistic.
And we'll do one more because we're getting to the end of the hour. Lake Como. Any thoughts? Hate it? Love it?
Yeah, so I go every year because I have a dear friend who lived on the Swiss border there, from New York actually, that I used to see every year. So obviously we go. My feeling on Lake Como is it's great to, I'm trying to sum up what I say. Okay, so I'm like more of an ocean sea person, but I think it's beautiful to be on the lake. It's beautiful to see Verona, and that's probably my favorite city there. It's really charming to have lunch and have a walk in the sea there. The Riviera di Limone is really cool to enjoy in the area. And actually, a little tip for you, they actually, Como, the town, does a really cool Christmas festival, especially if you have kids. So if you can't get there in the summer season, it's not too bad in the winter either.
Always more Christmas stuff, the better. I think most people will agree. Okay, so that's awesome. I'm gonna share my screen in a minute, but and we'll have, for anyone who has more questions or has questions later, Cassandra's information is on the Nomadic Network site, and it was emailed to you as well in the reminder email. So if you have follow-up questions, she'll be more than happy to answer them. Give her a follow on social media because she always posts lots of lovely pictures, which I live in Northern Europe, so it's a bit more sunny down there than up here. So it's always refreshing. But let's see, I'm going to pull up my screen, see if I can do this. There we go. So we do have more events coming up, everybody. After today's, I'm going to be hosting one tomorrow, all about India. Country I've never been to, so I'm particularly excited about that. We've got some coming up on diving, some on specific destinations such as the US, Portugal. We usually have 2 to 3 of these a week. So if you are interested in coming to more of these, learning more about another destination, getting some more travel inspiration, getting tips and advice from an expert like Cassandra, then be sure to visit our event page so you can learn more. I'm going to pop into the chat, make sure I'm not missing anything. Great. And again, if you're interested in watching replays of this or any of our other chats, you can check out our Patreon. It's how we connect with you guys exclusively with tons of behind the scenes content, replays of these events, and tons of other awesome perks, from merch to signed copies to live chats with Matt, everything else. So if you are interested, that's the place to be. We do have PayPal if you want to make a one-time donation. No obligation, of course, but we do appreciate it because we you know, Erica's full-time job is putting on these events, so it'll keep her employed. And last but not least, thank you all for coming. But especially thank you, Cassandra. I'm going to stop sharing my video. This was super lovely. I would have, I guess I won't be seeing you until maybe TravelCon or something.
Yes, and can I just interrupt you for 1 second? If anybody has
sure.
questions, because I saw a few more things come up, questions about dual citizenship, my company actually helped with that too. So you can send me an email, Chris will give you that. But yes, TravelCon, I hope April, right?
Hopefully, yes. If all goes well, which, you know, 2020 hasn't been the best of years, but I think we're due for a turnaround, you know, knock wood. But yeah, thank you so much, Cassandra. This was lovely. Thank you to everyone for coming out. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow at our event on India. If not, we've got tons more. So I'll see you folks later on. And thanks again.
Grazie, ciao.
Okay, see you everybody. Bye-bye.